Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us in the seminar today that we're organizing under the KitMed Atlantic Area Project. So the topic of today is medical applications of nanotechnology. So we have here an excellent panel today. I will start by a short presentation on the project, followed by a presentation on the status of nanomedicine technology today and what is foreseen for the future. We have the pleasure here to have the chairman of the ETP Nanomedicine Technology Platform, Ruth Schmid. Then we will have Angel, who is Deputy Manager of Program Strategy in BioKeralty Research Institute, making a presentation on magnetic nanoparticles for thermotherapy. And we finalize with María de la Fuente, making a presentation on a project named Diversa, Delivery of Innovation for Versatile Solutions in Advanced Therapeutics. We want this seminar to be interactive. We want to hear your questions, your suggestions, your concerns. So we will have Q&A sessions after each presentation, so we can have and feel that you are more involved in this webinar. My name is Paula Galveo. I'm from the International Iberian Nanotechnology Laboratory, so we're a partner in the KitMed project. The International Iberian Nanotechnology, I will say just a few words. It's an organization with an international legal status. It's an intergovernmental organization, meaning that it was created by the governments of Spain and Portugal in a joint initiative to create a nanotechnology lab oriented towards market solutions. We are the only nanotechnology-focused laboratory with an international legal status. We started 10 years ago. Today, we have around 400 employees of 40 different nationalities. So this reflects the international legal status that the Institute has. And although we are focused in nanotechnologies, we are highly market-oriented. So everything that comes out of the Institute has to be embedded in society and industry. We are organized around 6 main research areas, clusters. We work in the food area, in packaging solutions, in developing editable coatings for food, for instance. We work obviously in the medical area. Here we work a lot in nanoparticles for chemotherapy, or nanoparticles to enhance the images of scanning devices. We work also in the energy area. Here we work on hydrogen battery in photovoltaics. We have another area focused on advanced computing in materials, or advanced materials and computing. And our main area, let's say, would be the nanotechnology, nanoelectronic, nanodevices area. This is our strongest area. And here we develop nanodevices applied to health, applied to Industry 4.0, applied to environmental solutions, and applied to the food supply chain. So this would be our central area. Apart from that, we have 3 central labs. We have an excellent microelectron facility. We have a state-of-the-art clean room facility that is able to provide pre-industrial batches to industry. And then we have a smaller laboratory focused on photonics. We are at an international expansion, so we are here for 10 years, so not so long. And we want to go international, so we also have representations in Scandinavia, Israel, Dubai, Shanghai, Austin, and Boston. We want to cover the whole innovation cycle from basic RTD until commercial exploitation. So we have a special commercial arm of INL. It's a separate company, which is called INL IP Ventures, which is to commercialize and to support commercializing all technologies that come out of the Institute. And then we also have an incubator for startups. And here we can have internal startups and external startups that have access to the excellent equipment and facilities that we have at INL. And obviously linked to the incubator, we also promote acceleration programs for startups. So this, in short, to say that we are highly industry oriented. We are currently working with over 100 companies in private project and collaborative funded projects. So going back to the Atlantic CatMed project, it's, like I mentioned, a project funded by the Atlantic Area Program. And the aim, or the title, is bringing key enabling technologies together for the next generation of medical technologies. What does this mean? All in one shot, we want to create an ecosystem of pilot facilities among the consortium and with other partners that can support SMEs in bringing their medical devices, their products to the market. So we want to create an ecosystem of facilities with excellent infrastructure and expertise that can then help the SMEs push their technologies, their medical technologies, to the market. So going to the objectives of our project, we want to develop an ecosystem of CAT centers and experts that can support the SMEs in commercializing, in developing and commercializing, upscaling their products. We're engaging with companies using key enabling technologies in the medical sector. We provide access to facilities to develop these new products. And then we have a suite of support services that can help the SMEs that are being targeted within the project and supported within the project to improve their innovation process so they can upscale their medical devices more swiftly and become more competitive in a faster way. The Atlantic CatMed project is a consortium of 7 partners. It's coordinated by the National University of Ireland in Galway. It started in 2017. It will end October this year. So we're at the final stages of the Atlantic CatMed project. Like I mentioned, the target of the project are SMEs. SMEs working in biomaterials, medical diagnostic areas, regenerative medicine, sensors, drug delivery, and with the aim to help them accelerate their products to the market. How do we work? We have a complete cycle. We start with the stakeholder mapping of the transnational value chain. So we want to get these companies together and position them in different steps of the value chain so we can create a coordinated and identified value chain of SMEs that can support each other or that can complete each other in the value chain cycle of bringing a product into the market. After we have identified the companies, we are promoting innovation audits, so with the intent to improve their capabilities of commercializing, developing, and commercializing technology. We position them within the value chain, so everybody has access to where they are positioned and which companies are positioned in which step of the value chain analysis. And further to these innovation audits, we provide training webinars. We are developing key enabling procedures, and these procedures are to facilitate the access of these SMEs to the RTD facilities within the consortium and other entities that would like to join us. And we also help identify future collaboration opportunities for these companies. We also are identifying pilot cases of success. So one of them will be presented today. Concerning the mapping in the ecosystem, here you can see what we have identified up to now. So as you can see, we have companies identified in the materials area, biomaterials, in the process components and subsystems. We have pilot lines, which are the crucial and central part of the project, is to make these pilot lines accessible, to make these pilot lines known by the SMEs so they can know that they can access these facilities and they can get expert support to help them come to the market. And then we have companies within the application side, the end user products, and then all this reaching the major societal challenges of today. Within the innovation audits, so we position SMEs, we do we position them within 7 categories that you can see in this slide. These audits usually go for 2 hours. After that, we deliver a confidential audit report, and we also provide measures for improvement, and the consortium also supports them in these measures for improvements. We position these companies along the value chain analysis, like I mentioned, in the 4-step approach. So definition of the product, identifying stakeholders that could collaborate with these companies. We score the importance of these stakeholders, and then also they go back to that scheme that I showed you a couple of slides ago. So this is all about an iterative approach. We do the innovation audit, but this is not a one-step approach. We continue supporting these SMEs and helping them develop their future strategies in partnerships so they can succeed in commercializing their products. What we have achieved until now, so we're going into the last semester of the project. We have developed 50 innovation audits, 25 value chain analysis are completed or underway. We have developed 25 new access procedures. We have provided training to over 400 companies. We have provided training webinars also apart from that. We developed quality control procedures of these pilot facilities focused on therapeutical medical devices, and the selection of case studies to be presented, successful case studies to be presented within the project. So all in all, the CAPMed project provides soft skills developments for SMEs in the innovation cycle and in searching for partners that can upskill their project. We provide technical development opportunities for SMEs. So within these innovation audits that are done by experts in the field, we also propose them plans for future developments of products. And last but not least, and most important, I would say, is we provide these SMEs with facilities for commercial prototyping of these products and provide the skills they need to reach the next level of the services and the products they want to achieve. So very shortly, all in all, this is what I had to say about the Atlantic CAPMed project. I don't know if there are any questions by now, probably not. So maybe if there are not any questions, I don't see them. Maybe we can proceed with, let's say, our keynote speech. We have Ruth Schmid, chairman of the ETP Nanomedicine technology platform, that will talk about the challenges of today in the nanomedicine and of tomorrow of the nanomedicine technological area. Ruth, I pass the word now on to you. I think
Thank you. I think you have to stop sharing.
Yeah, I will stop sharing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me share my screen now. Oh, it should be the first slide, this one. Okay, good morning, everybody, and thank you to the organizers for having invited me and giving me the opportunity to present the area of nanomedicine today and some thoughts for how it should be tomorrow. As Paula said, I'm the chair of the European Technology Platform in Nanomedicine, and I'm also Vice President Marketing at Sintef Industry, which is a non-profit research organization in Norway. I will talk about nanomedicine, what it is today and tomorrow, and shortly about ETPN at the end. So what is nanomedicine? Biotechnology has already and will also in the future revolutionize treatment of serious diseases, and in many cases it will also cure them. With biotechnology, we can discover novel drugs for both cancer and other diseases, for example, infections. We can use gene therapy to treat many diseases by selectively cut and paste a genetic material. And we all know how immune therapy already has revolutionized cancer treatment. But even if all those new technologies open for treatment of diseases that we only dreamed about to do in the past, there is still one big challenge in many instances, and this is to deliver these drugs to the right place in the body. And here, nanomedicine will come in. There are quite many definitions of nanomedicine. One that I like because it's quite general is that it is the application of nanotechnology to achieve innovation in healthcare. Nanomedicine, the word is, or the term is used for a product, a novel class of products, nanopharmaceuticals. And nanopharmaceuticals, they are a relatively new class of therapeutics that contain nanomaterials, and they often have unique nanoproperties due to their small size and their high surface to volume ratio. They make it possible to change the bioavailability of a drug, to change the drug's properties, the solubility, and so on. Up to today, there are more than 50 nanomedicine formulations on the market. And I've only, let me make my pointer so that you can see it. I have just put in a few pictures of products that are on the market. The most known and the oldest one is Doxil, a liposome for treatment of breast cancer. But you also have more than 400 nanomedicine formulations in clinical trials. At the moment, still, most of those nanopharmaceuticals, they are designed for parenteral administration. So this type of administration dominates, and liposome and polymeric nanoparticles dominate. But we shouldn't forget what happened in 2020. In addition to a novel class of product, to this novel class of products, nanopharmaceuticals, we now have also nanovaccines approved. The two mRNA vaccines, they are nanomedicines. Nanomedicine is also a novel field of research. It's nanotechnology applied to health, and it combines chemistry, physics, biology, medicine, mathematics, nanotechnology, ethics in a multidisciplinary field. And nanomedicine can have an influence and be applied along the whole path of a patient, from being healthy to being sick, and then back to rehabilitation or a healthy living or a chronic therapy. So I will come back to this later. Where are we today with nanomedicine? There are a wide range of applications today: diagnostics, medical imaging, nanotherapeutics, vaccines, regenerative medicine. And nanomedicine generates new therapeutics in the interface between biology and physics. The therapeutics, they started with chemical drugs, then we got the biological drugs, then we started to get the nano-sized drug delivery systems, and now we also have a few examples of new therapeutic tools that are based solely on physics, nano-objects. So it's the interface between biology and biophysics that opens for new possibilities. Almost every new technology follows the Gartner hype cycle. This is a method that gives an overview on how a novel technology develops over time with the expectations to the technology, and how it matures and adopts from the idea to the full industrial establishment. Nanomedicine got the innovation trigger back in the 80s and 90s, and in 1995, the first nanomedicine was approved. And then we got a lot of expectations. everybody worked. There was a lot of money in the field of nanomedicine, and it culminated around 2005 when Abraxane, a new nanomedicine blockbuster, was approved. But then there were the translation of nanomedicine is challenging, and we could see a lot of research, a lot of publications, but very few products. Almost nothing happened. So typically along the Gardner hype cycle, also nanomedicine fell into the trough of disillusionment. But now nanomedicine is clearly again in the slope of enlightenment. And why is that? There is a change from pure academic development to a systematic translational approach. There is a basic understanding of the interaction between nanomaterials and biology, and this basic understanding is growing and it is showing results. And then in the period of 2017 to 2019, 3 novel second-generation products with really unique action mechanisms have reached the market. And of course, now in 2020, mRNA vaccines have reached the market in a very short time. And so I would say nanomedicine is really in the slope of enlightenment, and it is approaching more and more towards the plateau of productivity. I would like to show you a few of those success stories that represent the paradigm shift of nanomedicine. The first one is Vyxeos. Vyxeos is a liposome which contain a synergistic molar ratio of cytarabine to daunorubicin of 5:1. It is designed for the treatment of acute myeloid leukemia and was approved in 2017. It's in fact a European product, which is very good. It's good to have European products in the field of nanomedicine. It is the first clinically approved nanoparticle that delivers a synergistic combination of 3 drugs, and it delivers them at the together, time-wise, at the right place, in the same place. So it makes it it delivers the drugs in the correct ratio. If we would have injected the drugs separately, the biodistribution would have been different, and they wouldn't have had the right ratio at the disease site. So this paves the way for new combination nanoparticle formulations. The next example is Onpattro, which is a lipid nanoparticle for RNA for the knockdown of disease-causing TTR proteins to treat hereditary transthyretin amyloidosis. It was approved in 2018. It's an American product. This is the first clinically approved RNA therapy delivering nanoparticle. And in fact, it is the first FDA-approved RNA in general. So this demonstrates that nanoparticles can be used to enable the delivery of highly challenging therapeutics to humans, because RNAs couldn't be delivered. They were degraded. So we needed a shuttle for them. The next example is Hensefi. Hensefi is crystalline hafnium oxide. These are nanoparticles of an oxide. They are CE marked in Europe. So in Europe, they are a medical device. In the US, in fact, they are a medicinal product. And they are approved for the treatment of locally advanced soft tissue sarcoma. And this is a French product. And this is a product that has a very unique mechanism of action. This is one of those physics-based products. And it represents a next generation of nanoparticle therapeutics that can provide the therapeutic benefit in a complementary and possibly synergistic way to standard therapy modalities, because it enhances the external radiotherapy via a physical mode of action. So if we give radiotherapy and we have injected those particles in the tumor, the effect of the radiotherapy will be enhanced only locally in the tumor. So we can give much lower doses, so we don't get all the side effects, but we still have the very high effect in the tumor. And of course, I had to make this new slide because we have the success story now of two nanomedicine vaccines. The fact that they were developed, approved, and administered in a very, very short time, this is probably one of the most astonishing accomplishments in history of medicine, and nanomedicine is part of it. These vaccines, they enable the delivery of the complex therapeutics, but what is really important now and what we have to build on is, in fact, at the moment, the largest phase 4 trial of a nanomedicine is ongoing globally. And we will get a lot of results from this trial, from this global vaccination. And these results can be then the foundation for future nanomedicines. So these two vaccines, they have initiated a paradigm shift. They have initiated the shift from asking what are the unknown risks of nanomedicines, because now we will get a lot of answers to that and we can address them, to what clinical solutions can we solve with nanomedicines. And this will open the door to translational nanomedicine applications beyond these vaccines. And if you are, this paper just came out, and the figure is from the paper. It's really interesting to read if you want to read about the impact on translational nanomedicine that the clinical approval of these two products have had. Another interesting paper is the paper of Mathieu Germain in Journal of Controlled Release, which gives us some translational facts for nanomedicine formulations. It shows the number of the year of the first approval of a product. It also shows, gives statistics about the clinical trials. And we can see that still cancer is the biggest application area. But if we look at the evolution from 2016 to 2020, we can see that the part of it, the percentage of cancer is decreasing. So really nanomedicine is entering other disease areas more and more. Also, if we look at the type of particles, we can see that most of the particles in overall or in cancer and other areas, they are liposomes, but lipid particles and protein-based particles, oxide, metal particles, there are a lot of different particles that are in clinical trials. And of all those clinical trials, approximately 8% are now in the area of RNA delivery. So RNA is really the increasing area. So how do I think that nanomedicine looks tomorrow in a changing environment? Of course, we now really have to build on the success stories from the last years. We have to use this large phase 4 clinical trial of the COVID vaccines to address, study, understand the unknown risks of nanomedicines. And we have to use this knowledge to maintain the paradigm shift away from unknown risks and on future applications. Of course, we at the moment only get these data for lipid nanoparticles with an RNA inside, but we can learn from it. And what we now have to do is we have to build on this, and we have to use it for other diseases, both treatments and vaccines. I just read that Moderna now has an HIV vaccine based on their LNPs and mRNA in clinical trials with good results. So this research is already ongoing. We have to transfer it to other types of nanocarriers and other administration routes, but we can use those LNPs as control nanoparticle systems when we develop new particles. So now we finally have some sort of a control. And then also we, of course, have to proceed towards more complex systems, active targeting, combination drug delivery. Another important point is we have to adapt to the new health tech environment. And I think here we are really in line with Atlantic CatMed, because the healthcare transition and the health tech 2030 vision is from a reactive to a preventive and integrated healthcare. Integrate diagnostics and treatment, prevention, and it is the P4 medicine: personalized, predictive, preventive, and participatory. So the vision is to provide integrated, innovative, and smart healthcare solutions for all European patients by promotion of an innovative European health technology industry. What does it mean? It means that science-driven revolution and technological-driven revolution will go hand in hand in the future. And we have to work together. All the technologies, from new biomarkers, biotechnology, understanding of diseases, until smartphones and apps for the patient engagement. And nanomedicine is part of this environment. We can already see that the industry is going that way, because in Europe now, in Horizon Europe, we will have a new European partnership for health innovation. And this partnership, it's industry-led partnership, and it is in fact a cross-industry and a cross-business model partnership, because the medical device industry, the pharma industry, the biotech industry, and the ICT industry are going together to find solutions for the big challenges we have in our in health. That means that also the technologies have to build a new cross-technology environment. All the different key enabling technologies, photonics, micronics, micro nanoelectronics, manufacturing, ICT, nanotechnologies, biotechnologies, they have to go together with digitization and make a big cross-technology alliance. And this is in fact happening at the moment. The Health Tech for EU Alliance is under build-up. 8 European technology organizations have put together their forces to build the largest community in the tech and stakeholder diversity. So it can be a one-stop shop for the cross-industry sector to come and ask for health tech solutions and address the medical challenges. So how can we have healthcare delivery and healthcare systems? How is it today? Today, we have a well-being phase, then we have an acute phase, we have a post-acute phase, and we have a home care phase. This is the continuum of care today, but it will change now, and it will really change through the impact of technologies into a continuum of integrated care. We add an acute phase, and we add prevention and prediction, and through that by having more emphasis on that, we can avoid the acute phase, or we can reduce the acute phase. It moves from here to here. And then also technologies and also nanotechnology can accelerate recovery, and they can improve the condition of quality of life. So the technologies really can together impact on the continuum of care for the patient. Also, the funding environment in Europe is changing. Here we have Horizon Europe with the 3 pillars, the missions, the partnerships. This was the old organization in Horizon 2020, and something that is really important for everybody in the nanomedicine and in the medical technology area is that the program leadership in enabling and industrial technologies, it doesn't exist anymore in Horizon Europe. So there will not be there will not be specific technology calls for nanomedicine or for medical technologies. We have to go together and address the global challenges that will be in the calls of Pillar 2 in the health area. Technology calls will still be possible, but open for all technologies more in the EIC Pathfinder. But in all areas of Horizon Europe, we can respond with technology and with nanomedicine. So if we look at the future R&D environment and also on the gaps in the translation still, we can see that all the key enabling technologies, they have to work together to contribute to the R&D evolution. We still have the nanopharmaceuticals, nanoimaging agents, nanovaccines, nanopattern materials, but they are not, they will not solve a problem to a solution if we don't know which biomarkers we should use, if we don't understand the disease biology, if we don't have smart production information, if we don't have the imaging. So we need to go together, and then we can we can address unmet healthcare needs with innovative nanotechnology-based solutions for the benefit of the patients, and this in a cross-cut approach. There are still gaps towards the clinical translation. One is the lack in access to relevant preclinical characterization and safety assessment protocols and facilities, and also data. The lack in access to scale-up, uncertainty and fragmentation in the regulatory framework. As I told you, Hensify is a medical device in Europe, and it is a medicinal product in the US. It's exactly the same product. So those two agencies didn't agree upon which regulatory framework that had to be used. There is also a lack in access to clinical trials adapted to and relevant for nanomedicines. And then there is some sort of a lack in education, in business management, in the academia. So they start earlier to think about translation when they design their products. But of course, now the phase 4 trial from the SARS-CoV vaccines, it will contribute to reduce some of those gaps, but still we also need other measures to close the gaps. Very, very shortly on what ETPN is. It's the European Technology Platform in Nanomedicine. The mission is to shape and support the ecosystem of nanomedicine in Europe. And that's also one of the reasons why ETPN is very active now in the shaping this health tech for EU alliance together with the other ETOs. It's in fact ETPN that is the driver for the whole process, because we see we can't do this alone. We have to go together. ETPN was created in 2005. It's a legal association under French law, and it has about 120 members. We have been driving the nanomedicine in Europe since the start with a vision paper and in 16 new strategic research and innovation agenda, for which is the time for it is until 2030. And when I look back into it, I think it's still very accurate, even if we now are past midway of the whole period. So ETPN has also encouraged a strong and strategic European public funding of nanomedicine for more than 10 years, because ETPN has been asked and the strategic research agenda has been used to form the calls for nanomedicine. But we can see now in Horizon Europe that the Commission did a totally different process. They didn't ask the scientific and technology environment so much. They asked more the different countries, and input had to be given through the countries. The vision of ETPN is to address unmet healthcare needs with innovative nanotechnology-based solutions for the benefit of the patient. And just to finish, I would like to draw your attention to this year's Nanomed Europe conference, which will be in St. Gallen, Switzerland in September, if possible. Otherwise, it will be turned into a virtual event. So have a look at the website on Monday, the 20th, on the 20th, Tuesday, registration will open and abstract submission. And with that, I would like to thank you for your kind attention.
No, Ruth, thank you very much. It was interesting, a nice journey to see, and it was a very interesting presentation. We already have one question from a panelist, Mats Broden. So he's asking, what kind of influence and rewards will citizens have from the data they provide to the health system? Should ownership and governance of the data be centralized or decentralized? So this is two questions.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I'm the right person to answer this question, but if you want to have my own opinion, I think, of course, the data should be, it should be up to the patient to decide which data he wants to publish. But I think we should have a system where we can gather the data, maybe in an anonymous or in a way where you can't go back to each patient, but that we really can have access to all the data. Otherwise, we will never be able to improve, and we will have the same side effects and same problems again. I don't know whether I answered the question.
I think so. We don't have no more question, but I would have one question. What would be for you the main challenge of the sector for the next 5 years, let's say? We saw that with COVID, we were able to get our act together and vaccines came up quite rapidly. But we demonstrated that we reacted late, but we reacted fast. What would be the main challenges, what would hinder?
I think the main challenges are still that at the moment with COVID, I mean, we have to remember that all the COVID research started decades before. Okay. But things were ready. I think the main challenge forward will be to fill this, if you say you have a pond of technologies that you can use fast and put together, that we still get funding and we still get the possibility to fill this pond with new technologies, but at the same time also use what we have in a way together with in a I think it really will be that we are able to speak together in this cross-cut environment, that we we don't be in silos, that we work together and don't have any silo mentality anymore.
So you just touched one of the central points of the Atlantic HitMed project.
Yeah, I saw that from your presentation that we think very similar
it's
there.
Really to break those silos. So
yeah.
We have Gerard O'Connor. He says a very nice talk. Thank you. What specific opportunities or actions do you foresee to improve the business translation experience for early stage researchers in the education sector?
Can you read it once? Yeah, okay. Because it was quite a long one.
Okay. What specific opportunities or actions do you foresee to improve the business translation experience for early stage researchers in the education sector? So basically, how can we
educate
early stage researchers so they can become, I guess, more business oriented and look better at market opportunities, future market opportunities, and target those opportunities?
I think it should be, we should really, it should be part of the training at universities, in the education at the university. We should also have classes about regulatory IP topics, trigger the thought that you have, in fact, to scale up your idea, so that people, because I once said that we need to have this very early test on scalability and regulatory challenges for each idea. And then somebody came and said, but then you kill the creativity. Of course, we have to find the balance. We have to have this blue sky research. But I think immediately when something, when an idea is not totally blue sky anymore, when it is turning towards an application, then we need to include all the ethical, the legal, the regulatory, and the scale up questions. And students have to learn that, to learn to think so, because I mean, we learned it the hard way. I'm part of the group that invented and developed the Dynabeats, that probably many of you know because you use them in your lab, the tiny magnetic beads. And we used a rotary evaporator as one step to make them. And you can imagine when we had to go to large scale and into a reactor, we had to start from scratch again with the whole process, because the temperature profile was different, everything was different, and we got a totally different product.
So we have as a matter of fact, I think this question, I think it's more complicated in the health sector because we have all the regulatory aspects. But I think this is actually an issue for all technological centers, that is to have early stage researchers focused more on commercial market opportunities on the short term that are out there, short, medium term, right?
Yeah.
But this was just a comment. Of course, that it becomes even more important in the medical area, the medtech area. So we have here another question from Gerard de Bourbon, which is, you mentioned digitalization and connectivity as critical for future applications. Why do you suppose we are not embracing the value consented nano things in medicine when technology is already here? Also, 5G is going to accelerate this process. How can we move the sector faster?
Now,
long questions, right? We're getting long questions.
I mean, is the question, how can we move faster with the nanotechnology in the digital area? Or
yes.
yeah,
That's the question. Taking opportunity of the 5G opportunities, which would open up a whole new world for the medical sector. So
yeah,
this will be an additional challenge, right? So
yeah, but I think it is really important, because more and more we can see to understand if you want to go to personalized medicine, we need to get the genomic, metabolomic, proteomics of a patient, and we need them fast. We get a ton of data, and in a way, together with the digital with the digital help that we have. I'm a total idiot. I almost can't use my computer, but I mean, together with the digitalization, we can build, in a way, avatars, digital avatars of a patient, which we can use maybe to test a drug faster and get a response and see, oh no, this patient will not respond to this chemotherapy. We need to use another one, or we can gather data with follow-up diagnostics very fast, so we don't have a cancer patient that has to test one drug for 6 months and then see it doesn't work, and then a new drug for another 6 months. I think really the big data field and the medical field, they have to go together.
for sure. And this will be, I think, our biggest challenge of the future, to take full profit. People need to be engaged and aware of these opportunities and engage in them from the start, so we could take the maximum profit as early as possible.
Yeah, and even also using the data from wearables and smart.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my Fitbit, and it tells me every morning my oxygen level in the blood. It tells me, I can follow my pulse. I get a lot of information, and if we could use this information also in the prevention and precaution in this first step of the continuum of care, so we can avoid to get sick. Also these data, but of course, this has to be discussed very much in an ethical view, because how can we use those data without really interfering with the personal life of a patient, and without maybe influencing, for example, insurance companies.
Exactly.
If they get those data, they can say, oh no, you don't get insurance with us. We can see from your data that we don't want to insure you.
Yeah, and that's not ethical at all. Okay, thank you, Ruth. We're going to proceed then with the next presentation. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Indeed, very interesting. I'm sure there would be more questions, but we have to proceed. So we go to the next presentation, which is made by Angel Del Pozo, Deputy Manager of Programs of Strategy at BioKeralty Research Institute. And we will have a short presentation on magnetic nanoparticles for thermal therapy in solid tumors. Angel Pozo, thank you very much for being us today, a friend. And I say the floor is almost all yours, or you can start sharing now, I think.
Thank you very, very much, Paula. I am going to try to share my screen. Okay, now it is there. Okay, can you see it?
Yes. Perfect.
So, okay, I was a little bit nervous because it was not working at the critical moment. You know, thank you very much for your invitation to Anna and to you, Paula, and especially to consider us as a friend. It's an honor for me. It's also an honor to share this panel with these three impressive women. And I want to highlight this. I am glad to be the only male at this panel, because this really reflects how science and technology is evolving. My name is Ángel del Pozo. Some of you maybe know me. I work at BioKeralty Research Institute. We are a private research institution that is participated by several companies, mostly focused in pharmaceutical development and mostly in healthcare providing at a multinational level, especially in the Americas, in North and South America. And today I want to speak a little bit about thermotherapy as one of the applications of nanomedicine or nano-enabled medical technologies or nano-enabled medicinal products. You see from Ruth's presentation that the wording is important and sometimes is different depending on the countries and so on. And here I would like to try to explain you these possibilities for thermotherapy based on nanoparticles for cancer. I try to make a presentation that is not extremely technically focused or scientifically focused, let's say. I didn't include many diagrams with a lot of bars and results that maybe I cannot explain you, and even you cannot maybe well understand in 10 or 15 minutes. But it's mostly to try to tell the story of this technology that we developed mainly under the No Cancer project. And the Cancer project is an Horizon 2020 project that was funded 5 years ago. And the idea was to develop iron oxide nanoparticles functionalized with different possibilities for targeting and also for as a therapeutic adjuvant, and try to move this to the clinical practice, to a first in human clinical testing. This is really challenging for a 5 years project. This was funded under the NMP program, and it's I think that is not so common that they fund a clinical test. And we are focusing into pancreatic cancer with this development. We have a big consortium, of course, for the project. You have there the people. It is led by Iberian Nanociencia, that is a research institution in Madrid, and they are really, really good as coordinators, and as scientists are one of our main partners and even friends for these kind of things. You see there many companies like Chemicell, Imopharma, BioKeralty, Resonance Circuits Limited, RCL, and also strong technology and science providers. You see there the people, probably some of you know some of them. We were there in Madrid. I think that was the last in-person meeting that we could have. Why pancreatic cancer? Pancreatic cancer is the sixth cause of death by cancer in Europe, even if it is not one of the most relevant in terms of incidence cancers, but it is expected that by 2030, this pancreatic cancer can become the first cause of death above lung, colon, or liver cancer. This is not because the incidence is going to be higher, that can happen due to aging of population, but it is mostly because there is no clear solution, no clinical medical alternative that has appeared in the last 30 years. And the survival rate is approximately 5%. And this has not changed during these years. So it is an orphan disease with a very bad prognosis. And when we thought about how we could apply this thermotherapy in cancer, the first question is why and for what? I mean, science is nice, technology is nice, but as Ruth was mentioning, you have to move from papers to real applications. That is not easy, but it's important to decide where do you want to go with your development. We have a previous record of good evidence coming from a previous European project. This is also a nice example with this technology because it followed a first more basic research project that was called Multifund, a second implementation and scaling up project that was this No Cancer, And we are also even moving forward this technology at a new project that is called Safe and MedTech. So, as Ruth mentioned, things don't happen suddenly by a miracle. They should be based, similar to the vaccines for COVID-19, they should be based in previous research. And it is important, I think, that the community, the European Commission, the companies, everyone try to create this continuum of research that it's not clever to fund something for 4 years, 3 years, having good results and letting this die and moving to a new thing because there is no funding to continue with that. As I told you, pancreatic cancer is a really challenging and complicated disease. It can be resectable tumors, borderline tumors, locally advanced tumor, or metastatic tumors. And as you see, the survival is determined by these different stages. But in any case, the prognosis is not really good. Current therapies are surgery to the extent that you can resect the tumor, radiotherapy, and chemotherapy. But the cancer, due to the location, due to the stroma, due to the tissue characteristics, is quite resistant to all these approaches. What we want to do with the no cancer, as you see there, what we want to do is, first of all, producing magnetic nanoparticles with the right quality and the right characteristics, inject them locally to the tumor so we can avoid there some of the uncertainties in nanomedicine that Ruth was mentioning about what may happen with a systemic application. So we are applying it locally into the tumor. This also creates other type of challenges that I will mention shortly in the next slides. And once we have the particles in the tumor, we will apply an alternative magnetic field that will, let's say, excite the particles and will create a phenomenon of hyperthermia, increasing the temperature in the tumor. The particles are intended to be in the range of 14 to 20 nanometers. So you see they are really, really nano. There are two approaches in thermotherapy. One is the thermal ablation, that is, you try to kill the tumor, let's say. You try to burn it, let's say, in not scientific words. But for that, you have to go to temperatures over 45 degrees, close to 47. And this can be dangerous for the tissues that are surrounding the tumor, and also an abrupt ablation of the tumor can release a lot of tumor cells around, and also cytokines, and this can create problems to the patients, can be a really severe side effect. So our approach is to go for thermal sensitization, that is to increase the temperature of the tumor site around between 41 and 45 degrees. So we can enhance somehow cell death. We change the vascular permeability. We increase the blood flow, so we lead the more tumor oxygenation, and we can intensify the cytotoxic effect of anti-cancer drugs. This third part of the approach is the most important one, because we have seen that through this we can create a synergistic effect with the current treatments. Magnetic nanoparticles, iron oxide nanoparticles, are widely applied as iron supplement in case of iron defects in people, like anemia, acute anemia, and so on. They are applied in imaging, in diagnosis, and they are starting to be applied in therapy in hyperthermia and also as drug carriers. You need for this really good properties. You need reversible magnetic behavior. You need no aggregation. You need the right response to the applied magnetic fields. They need to be easy to handle. They have to be stable. You need to have a good response to other to the field that you applied, and also the right heat profile that you are aiming for. And this is mostly influenced by size and composition. So one of the important parts of the project was to set up the right production optimization protocols and scaling up from the very beginning. There is an important actor in the field. It's also important when you start doing an innovation, and this is similar to what Ruth was mentioning, that you have an eye around, you have a look to the potential concurrents, because of course, when you are a scientist or a technologist, you love science and you love to develop solutions, and maybe you can have indeed solutions, or when you are a startup, you are really passionate by your potential solutions, but you have to keep in mind if at the end somebody is going to pay you for this, because if not, you are not or if the healthcare systems are willing to incorporate your innovation into the clinical practice. If you cannot, I don't mean ensure, but at least have an eye on this and have evaluate your possibilities, you are in the risk of investing a lot of time and money and an illusion, and finally don't get to a solution. So the big player here, the most important one, is MagForce. You see there one of the, I don't know if this is the CEO or somebody like that, but you see there the machine that you need to apply the thermotherapy. So you inject the particles and you put the person into that machine. They are really expanding the business. They got a loan from the European Investment Bank, and they are now focusing in different applications like prostate cancer, head and neck, pancreatic cancer, brain, and so on, with good results, moving to different status of development across the pipeline. And it is based in nanoparticles, the nanotherm magnetic fluid, a nanoplan that is a software. This is also coherent with the view from the vision from Ruth, that is integration of technologies. A software that helps you to follow, to simulate how the particles are going to behave, and also the nanoactivator itself, that is the big equipment that you show. In the project we are developing, we have developed the no cancer nanoparticles, a simulation software that is called CAD-PLAN, and the match system, that is the equipment that will provide the magnetic field. Of course, we have to think about what are our competitive advantages. We expect to have enhanced features in our particles due to coating, fractionalization, and better heating capabilities, and that they really fit the match system, the alternative magnetic field generator. Our simulation software is totally adapted also to the system, and the system, the match, the generator of the magnetic field have a unique selling points, that is a similar performance. While it is portable, it's not the machine that you saw from MagForce, and it is cheaper to produce. And you have just to plug into a socket into the wall. So this is one of the most important competitive advantages of the project, the match system that is, as I mentioned, portable and more and cheaper. RCL, the Resonance Circuits Limited, the company, they have to produce two types of device for the project, one for the preclinical studies and two for the clinical studies. This is important to mention, I think, because sometimes you don't have the tools for doing the preclinical that you need, especially when you are applying nanomedicine or nano-enabled medical devices. Sometimes you need to develop from scratch some models, some equipments, and this was the case. There was no commercially available generator of magnetic field that we could use. So into the project, we have developed two types of particles, let's say. One of them are the coated iron oxide nanoparticles for the hyperthermia, and the other are including different types of functionalization, like a targeting peptide that is called nucleant, gencitabine, and so on. We agree with the Commission in moving in parallel with these developments. The first one is the one that has reached the clinical application, and the second one is more focusing optimization of production and getting more preclinical evidence. Really important was to focus on ISO production from the very beginning and understand the needs of let's say, professionalized and pharmaceutical quality control or medical device production quality control regarding the common features into any medical device, class 3 medical device or drug, but also taking into account the specificities of the nanoparticles, colloidal characterization, size, magnetic properties, activity, stability. So it was really important to develop quality control procedures and also try to move to implementation of the standard operational procedures and potential GLP accreditation for some of the partners in these studies. Also quite important, it was to make a late preclinical assessment for the elaboration of the IMPT, of the dossier to get the approval for the clinical study. We focus on efficacy, toxicity, and regulatory toxicity with the partners that you see there. Also quite important was to, of course, to find the right models to identify the degree of efficacy that we have. We work with the CENIO, the National Spanish Council for Oncological Research, also Hospital of Fuenlabrada, and also Valdebrón Research Institute, and they put there was a lot of effort. You can have a look to the publications that are mentioned in the web page. There was a lot of effort to develop the right models, and it was really challenging. Also, all the things related to toxicity and genotoxicity, and the potential migration of the magnetic nanoparticles. As I mentioned, the development of the preclinical match. And through all this, good production, good upscaling, the right preclinical models, the obtaining of evidence in non-toxicity or low toxicity and efficacy, and the right regulatory focus, we can got the clinical implementation of the results. We have two clinical partners that are the Hospital of Valdebrón. The principal investigation is Teresa Macarulla, it's a reference in pancreatic cancer, and we have also the Hospital of Fuenlabrada in Madrid with Juan Carlos Lacal. Both centers are quite experienced in clinical trials, and especially in pancreatic cancer. It's important to mention the project has a strong clinical leadership or co-leadership because it's important that we understand the clinical needs of the clinicians and what happens afterwards at the clinical sites. Maybe you have fancy ideas or really nice technologies that at the end are not applicable when you go to a surgery or to a nurse and you ask, how can we do this? In this case, the most important challenge from this aspect of the clinical implementation was how to inject the particles into the tumor. This is not easy. You have to do it through endoscopy, but there is a reduced volume that you can just for physical restrictions of the needles that you can and the syringe that you can punch into the tumor. So maybe you have a solution that needs to inject 4 milliliters of your suspension of particles. It will work really fine in all your preclinical models in equivalent, but when you move to the human, maybe you have there a total impossibility because you didn't take into account at the beginning the vision from the clinicians. Nowadays, the clinical trial is approved. This came from a really hard work together with the Spanish Medicines Agency and led by BioKeralty to get them to understand the implications of these technologies and the trial to be made. So this is now approved in 2 hospitals. We are now, and I have to say, facing an uncertainty moment because the project is ending officially in end of March. We asked for an extension to the European Commission, and for the sake of patients and the sake of science and for the sake of logic thinking, should be granted, but we are not sure about that. But in any case, everything is ready to the trial, and if it is not made into this project, we will try to make it anyway. Key aspects for me, what lessons learned, you need to create a strong multidisciplinary team, well-balanced between industry and research from the very beginning when you go to applied research. You have to consider scaling up and regulatory aspects from the very beginning, and even if you do that, you will have problems and challenges. As I mentioned, involve clinicians and try to understand their needs and concerns from the very beginning, and the limits of what can be really done. And balance between being ambitious and being realistic. As I mentioned, we took at the end these 2 parallel ways in the project because we saw that get into a clinical trial with the whole package would not be possible at the moment. Next steps, we are connecting, as I mentioned, with a new project that is Safe and Tech. This is an open innovation testbed. INL is part of it, also Sintef, so some of the people that is here today. This is an exciting project that tries to connect all the expertise that a company and a startup or an SME or even a big industry needs to move nano-enabled medical technologies to the patients and the markets through the different stages of characterization, preclinical, clinical, regulatory, health technology assessment, and so on. And we are here together with RCL, moving ahead this technology to other future applications and other future indications. I think that the Safe and MedTech is also an interesting project for this community that you are creating in this project, and of course we will be more than happy to invite you also to join future initiatives of the Safe and MedTech. This is all. Maybe I ran long. I'm not sure. Sorry for that. In any case, I'm really happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Angel. No, you're on time. We're running late, but it was not you, so it's good. And I think the interaction is nice. It was really nice to hear some nice developments in such an aggressive cancer. So I hope you will be successful. I don't see any questions in the Q&As or in the chat. So maybe what I suggest is we proceed to the next presentation, and then after the next presentation, there can be Q&A sessions for both slots, for yours, Angel, and the one from María de la Fuente. Okay. So I now introduce María de la Fuente Freire. Thank you for being with us here today. María is head of the Nano Oncology and Translational Therapeutics unit at the Health Research Institute of Santiago de Compostela, and she will be presenting us the Diversa project, Delivery Innovation for Versatile Solutions in Advanced Therapeutics. María, I think, okay, you can proceed now.
Okay, thank you very much for the kind introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to be here with all of you and also sharing this panel with Ruth and Angel. It's a pleasure. I'm also quite involved in this Atlantic Med project because IDIS and IDIS is one of the partners, so I'm also quite happy to participate in this webinar. So the purpose of my talk is to give an example, an own example about what are we doing to translate our research results into the market, into a product. So the name of the project is Diversa, that stands for Delivery Innovation for Versatile Solutions in Advanced Therapeutics. And I will give a small introduction about who we are, because I think it's very relevant to keep in mind the scenario and why our aim is to translate. So basically, I'm the main researcher, the IP of a research lab in Santiago de Compostela. And this research lab is located at the Clinical University Hospital. And because of that, we are doing translational research from the beginning. That means that in the hospital, we are exposed to a clinical environment. So we are really well aware of how much improvements they need to be done to improve patients' health. So in the research unit that I'm leading, we are the Nano-Oncology and Translational Therapeutics unit. And I think the name is quite relevant already, because we start our research focusing on nano-oncology, but after a while we decided to expand, because oncology is a very challenging field of research, but we really think that with our technology we can contribute to provide solutions to many other diseases. So we are quite a young group, like we started our activity, well, not that young anymore, it's like in 2013, so 7 years ago. And from the very beginning, we decided to continue and to focus on translational technology. So we understand that from an academic perspective, many times we really want to play with materials. And this is very important because basic research is providing us with new tools, with new processes to manipulate material. But keeping in mind that we really wanted to translate, we decided to keep it simple. So we wanted to develop a technology that was like fast, simple, like with a few components, safe by design, biocompatible, reproducible, stable, and also, and very relevant, versatile. So versatile in terms of type of molecules that could associate, type of diseases that could be targeted with the technology, and also modalities of administration. So we really wanted to get something that fulfilled all these characteristics, because in our perspective, that was the best way to advance towards the clinic. So this is our technology. This is, we prepare like nanomulsions that are composed by 2 lipids, and then they can be more complex if we really want to do so. But the basic composition is just two lipids that are lipids that are present in our own body, and therefore can be easily degraded, and they are not accumulating or providing extra toxicity. So this is how we prepare the particles. In few seconds, we have a formulation that measures around 100 nanometer and is stable for a very long time under storage, and also in presence of different biological media. So we think it's a translatable technology at first. The process at the moment and in the framework of some projects is being already scaling up. And we are at the moment able to produce up to 100 milliliters following a similar process, and we aim to get a liter in a few months. So we characterize very in deep this technology, and this is an example of one of the works that we have done in collaboration with the group of a group of the Ficus, a chemistry group that is specialized in molecular dynamics, and we really perform different studies to understand how these both components align, and to try to also create a way to know how different molecules could be associated. So the molecules can also be simulated in the computer, and we can get a perception of how versatile the technology is. So as I mentioned before about stability, and this is an example. So nanoparticles were stable for several weeks at different conditions, and also in presence of FBS and PBS and serum. And down here you can see the stability in different buffers and media that are of biologically relevant. Again, about versatility, this is again molecular dynamics studies, but we can see that in numbers, we get a high association efficiency either for small molecules that are hydrophobic or amphiphilic, but also for peptides and proteins. And at the moment, we are working on mRNA too. So you can see that we can associate different molecules irrespective of the physicochemical properties. And this is very, very relevant for our project, for Diversa. We can also, we have put a lot of effort in trying to understand the full potential of the technology. So we perform different experiments in cell culturing. We have a variety of cell culture, either for commercial cell lines and from primary cell cultures. And we could see that the particles internalize very efficiently without causing toxicity, and they can deliver intracellularly the associated molecules. We also have several studies in zebrafish embryos as well as in mice for proof of concept, preclinical proof of concept. And in terms of compatibility, we explore also the biocompatibility of our formulations in cell lines in mice. So we perform several injections and intravenous injections and monitorize the weight and the welfare of the animals as well as the organs microscopically. And we also use zebrafish embryos for studying the biocompatibility of our nanocarriers. So with all this data, we issue a patent application, and we have the first European reports, and they are positive, and they claim the claims are considered innovative. So we have this patent application submitted in January 2018, so like 2 years ago, and from that time we decided that we had something that could be translated, and that we wanted to focus on the development of products of nanomedicine. For that, we started to apply to grants that are specifically designed for tech transfer. So we apply for a program that is from our regional government, from the Xunta de Galicia, the IGNITIA program. We also applied for Caixa Impulse, which is from La Caixa, and is also a program that is specifically designed for tech transfer, and to the Instituto de Salud Carlos III, that also have a particular call that is specific for tech transfer. And we also have the support of the platform of the ETPN and all the European resources that are available for nanomedicine at the moment. So in total, from the Xunta de Galicia, Caixa Impulse, and the Instituto de Salud Carlos III, we achieved around 600,000 euro for translation of our technology. And this is the beginning of Diversa. So after 2 years working on that, there is I think there was a question before about how to encourage people to translate. And I think it's a very motivating road path. It's really challenging. And scientists, we are really, we are not exposed to translational formation, or so for us it was everything very new. And still after 2 years, now that the company is going to be incorporated next September, we are still learning things on the go. So fortunately, we have the support of our TTO and also some advisors in different programs. So we feel very supported by different persons. But this is, for us, everything was very new. Well, it's very motivating. I'm really happy to have started this trip. So Diversa wants to face a problem that I think all of us understand, all of us working in nanomedicine, and basically what we want to do is to accompany the medicine revolution. So we are really well aware that nowadays personalized medicine is the present and the future. So every time we have more and more molecular understanding of the diseases, and then new therapeutic molecules are being developed, and most of these molecules are starting to be like biomolecules, peptides, proteins, genes, RNAs that need to be delivered intracellularly and have a lot of barriers to overcome to be effective. So that's why the molecules are just failing on the way, and we need to fill this gap, because we need to be able as scientists and as a company to bring new therapeutic alternatives to patients. So this problem is really translated in cost. And it's not only about money, it's also about real human cost. So there are people who could be benefiting from new therapeutic molecules and are just waiting because these molecules are not going to reach the market. So the solution is the technology that I presented before. We think that we have a drug delivery system and carrier that has the at least fulfill the characteristics to be translated into products. And we want to join the revolution of the personalized medicine. So the technology, I'm not going to go, this is the pitch that we are presenting. So these images were already shown before. So we have the patent, we have the proof of concept, we have the scientific knowledge, and now we need to build up the business. Because at the end of the day, a company is a business, and we need to be aware that there are some differences with respect to academic or clinical or research in a hospital. So what we want to do, we want to be a company that does R&D. We want to continue our scientific activity, but with a different perspective. We want to perform our own proprietary R&D, but we also want to work in collaboration with other organizations that have the molecules, that have the diseases, that want to join efforts to end up with the development of new products. And we also want to commercialize our technology as a reagent, as a research reagent, so we can make it accessible to researchers, to biomedical researchers that have the molecules but don't know what to do with them. They are stuck because after they discover a molecular target, they make some efforts in getting a protein or a peptide or a RNA, and then they don't know how to deliver it to the cells. So for RNA, yes, there are some more technologies, but for proteins and peptides, there are very little alternatives. So we have some projects that we are going to start. I mean, that are projects of the research group that are going to be translated transferred to Diversa. We also want to do co-development with other institutions, as I mentioned. And for the kits, we have already manufactured different solutions according to the type of molecules. So for small molecules, for peptides, for proteins, as well as fluorescent tracers. For this, we have engaged a distributor because we don't want to, we have not the capability to commercialize directly, but we think that a commercial distributor is the best because they can reach a lot of researchers around the world. And the customer profile is like our R&D. We will need investors, we will need partners, and we will need biomedical researchers, basically. So the company, well, when you start a company, you have to do this timeline. We have to be able to oversee a scenario of 5 years and to consider a lot of aspects. But for us, researchers are very new to think on big, no, and to think far. And we are the team, so we are scientists, but we are also accompanied by a business advisor, and we are now building the advisory board of the company. Yeah, I hope in few months I will be able to share more details, and we will be a company that will be happy to collaborate with you. So thank you very much, and thanks again for the opportunity to present our project here.
Thank you, Maria, for being here with us today. It was indeed nice to see your presentation, and it ended up the best way. So you're creating a spin-off, which is very nice. I don't know if there is questions from the panel. I don't see no questions, but maybe some will pop up in the meantime, either for Angel or either for Maria. I'm happy to see, like Maria, seeing a lady leading a startup in such a complicated ecosystem. And I think here it's where projects like Atlantic CatMed, the ETP Nanomedicine, and the OITB's Angel, this is where we can come together and support these startups to succeed and to really reach what they aim at, because it's really a complicated environment. And I think these startups really need all the support they can get from these larger infrastructures and for these larger projects that are responsible for bringing the ecosystem together. Maria, maybe sometime you can come and visit INL. I don't know if you have visited.
Yeah, I visited it, but it's always a pleasure to go.
We have some areas that cross each other. And the same thing, Angel, from your project, MagForce works precisely in the same areas regarding the magnetic hyperthermia and the nanoparticle drug delivery systems that we have at INL. So maybe some collaborations can be made there. So we have here one question from Ruth. Maria, have you used the Health Tech TAB?
Yeah, I'm using it, and
I very good.
Apologize for not having included it, because it's been really useful, and even we had last meeting, like I would say a month ago, and it's always really nice. The Health Tech tab, I started when it was a Nanomed tab, so years ago, and the thing is that you always get an independent opinion, because in my opinion, when you are starting up a project of these characteristics, we are very naive in many aspects. So we are learning on the go, and it's always good to have like an opinion of someone that is completely,
agnostic.
Yeah, and that can give you an overview from experience, that You can take it or not, but always available. We also are meeting with 3 different people every time. So they also have different points of view among them, but always very, very useful. So yeah, Ruth, this is a really good point. And I'm so apologize for having not mentioned it in the presentation, because it's one of the, even when I started to present the project in the Nanomed Tab, it was at such an early stage, and they were always encouraging us. Like, you know, you have something good, go ahead. And, you know, they are somehow responsible that we are here now. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe for those that don't know, the Nanomed tab earlier and now the Health Tech tab, this is the Translational Advisory Board, and it's part of the Translational Hub that the ETPN created to help SMEs and academics in the translation. So this is an advisory board where you can apply and you can get an independent an independent view on your technology. They also help you. The tab is not only helping those that are successful, like Maria. The tab is in fact sometimes also stopping projects before a lot of money is invested in something that would never reach the market. So the tab has a very good function, is part of this translation hub, because ETPN sees that there is still a need also in the future, and we are working very hard now to get future funding for the tab, because the funding for the tab stopped now by the end of last year. But we are in a dialogue with several instruments in Horizon Europe. So we hope really the tab can continue and can help the nanomedicine community in the translation. And in general, the health tech community, and that's why we changed the name also, because we have to change our minds more and more from nanomedicine alone to health technologies, advanced technologies for health.
Okay, so we don't have any more questions. So I would like to thank all the attendees for being here today. I think it was interesting, and it's important that these different platforms, these different projects get together and speak about the next challenges and see how we can collaborate. I would also like to thank our 3 panelists for being here today. I think you presented some interesting presentations, and hopefully we can be together sometime soon in another event, most likely digital, but for sure to be together. Okay, I don't see more questions, so maybe we can end it for today. It's almost lunchtime also, so I guess we might be hungry by this time, and let's keep in touch. We will send the presentations to all the attendees. If it's not a problem, contact details will be there. So we can already start some bilateral talks if necessary. So thank you all once again for being here today. And I think it's it for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.